And a very special welcome to everyone from On the Ring Apron and from Mania Club, the Champions of Hope Foundation. My name is Steve. I am a proud one of the three members of the On the Ring Apron crew. We've been doing this presentation now for our fourth year, as we would like to welcome you officially to the fourth annual Mania Club and On the Ring Apron End of Year Awards, where we celebrate all things wrestling, primarily WWE and a little bit of AEW as well. It is my absolute joy and privilege to be the host for this year once again. A huge shout out to the powers that be at Mania Club, primarily Demario North, of course, Gary, Tay, all the people that normally are there to support us. You guys are nothing if not phenomenal every step of the way. And it's just an honor and a privilege to get to once again be a part of this amazing presentation at the end of the year. So let me tell you guys a little bit about why you're here, and then you're going to hear me go into the background during the presentation portion. But essentially, we have an entire year's worth of discussion that we've gone over since the start of December of 2024, going all the way until the end of November of 2025. And we've accumulated 21 different categories, in which case we're going to have an opportunity to be able to give out some awards and an opportunity for us to be able to talk about wrestling. This particular show is the nominations show, where we take all of our categories and literally dozens, if not hundreds of possibilities. And between us and a 17-person panel split between us, the Mania Club, what we call our Ultraverse, and a number of special guests, we have been able to whittle all of that down to 5 options each. So this is the official show where it's going to present who those nominees are. And then starting tomorrow on both the On the Ring Apron pages as well as on the Mania Club Facebook page, there's going to be a Google Doc where everybody across the board is going to have an opportunity to be able to cast your vote. And out of the 17-person panel, with the total vote of our Ultraverse as well as the total vote of Mania Club also being included in the final numbers, we will be able to get to an inevitable winner in our 4th annual Ultra MC Awards. So without further ado, again, on behalf of myself, Alyssa, and Kia here with On the Ring Apron, thank you all so much for joining us. But let's go ahead and let's not waste any more time. Let's get started on our nomination show. So hopefully the sound is working in the background, but this is still Steve, and we are presenting the 4th annual Ultra Awards presented to you by On the Ring Apron and Mania Club and part of the Champions of Hope Foundation. Just a quick background into exactly what we are presenting here. Again, the voting is all about the WWE and AEW superstars and events that took place from December 1st of 2024 until November 30th of 2025. So this would have ended on the date of Survivor Series. So anything that has happened inside of the last 2 weeks would be the first things that would go on the board for next year's events. The voting for the final awards is going to take place starting tomorrow, December 16th, and will roll until December 27th, giving everyone 11 calendar days to be able to place in their votes. And of course, as we mentioned, it is a 17-person panel plus the total cumulative vote of the Ultraverse and also the total cumulative vote of the Mania Club, giving us 19 total votes. So there's a lot of personalities and a lot of different opinions. Everybody's interpretation of some of these awards will be different than others, but we believe this gives us the most fair opportunity. Once again, a big shout out to Mania Club for allowing us to once again host this event. We hope you look forward to it. But without further ado, let's get into our respective nominees. The first event that we have, or the first award anyway, is the Rookie or Newcomer of the Year. This is a person who is in their first full year, either with NXT or Evolve, or it can also be the first year of a person that is on the main roster. Now, in order to do that, you must be inside of the first year, either in NXT or on the main roster in order to qualify for this category. We have seen previous winners such as Dominic Mysterio, and last year it was Jacob Fatu who took home this award. We have obviously a number of different people that you could think of, but here are the 5 nominees after all of our votes that we came up with. Blake Monroe, the current Women's North American Champion in NXT. Stephanie Vaquer, the current Women's World Champion on Monday Night Raw. Dark State, NXT's Tag Team Champions, actually 2-time Tag Team Champions. Roxanne Perez in her first full year on the main roster. And Julia, who came up to the main roster and has since won the Women's United States Championship and appears to be destined for bigger things. So those are your 5 nominees this year for Rookie or Newcomer of the Year. Jacob will not have an opportunity, as that there should be no repeat winner ever in this category. However, these are the 5 people that you could vote on. This will all be included in a Google Doc that will be available for you to vote on starting tomorrow. Our next event is the WWE or NXT Heel of the Year. Obviously, the heel is defined as who has been the ultimate bad guy in WWE or NXT. Dominic Mysterio has actually taken this one 2 years in a row. So will he have an opportunity to be able to three-peat? Let's find out as we award our 5 finalists. Ethan Page, the current North American champion from NXT. Naomi, a great run as a new heel persona in her caution phase. Dominic Mysterio does rejoin the list as he is currently holding not just the Intercontinental Championship, but also the AAA Mega Championship as well. He will have an opportunity to potentially three-peat as Heel of the Year. Gunther, who just retired John Cena, also retired Bill Goldberg earlier this year. He has an opportunity as he reaches the charts for the 2nd year in a row. And Drew McIntyre, a consistent thorn in CM Punk and Cody Rhodes' side throughout the year. He now has an opportunity to be able to earn himself his status as Heel of the Year. Dominic Mysterio, as we stated, going for the 3rd year in a row, but he has some tough competition with Ethan Page, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, and Naomi. It is important to note, however, for the vote on Gunther, that his victory over John Cena will not be included as part of the final vote, as this would only be his status up until the end of November. So his victory recently over John Cena will play no role in the final vote. Our 3rd category is the burn moment of the year, the best promo with the best pot shot. Last year, it was Roman Reigns standing in front of Seth Rollins at the Las Vegas event, stating to Seth, "Are you just a man who cosplays in your wife's shoes, in your wife's clothes?" So definitely a burn in there that everyone seemed to enjoy. Let's see who the 5 nominees are for this year. The New Day telling Big E at their heel turn, "You're never going to be cleared." A huge moment and a huge hurt amongst the WWE Universe as Big E essentially gets told by his brothers he will not have an opportunity to be able to wrestle ever again. I make empires for billionaires. John Cena's last chant and last conversation before taking on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, stating, "I make empires for billionaires. You just steal money from their kids." Took a chunk of change. This is the first meetup between Seth Rollins and CM Punk since Punk came over to Raw, leading to their match at the Netflix premiere last January, where Seth Rollins said, "You took a chunk of change to join the competition. I should have pushed her harder." Naomi's admittance in March to being the person who attacked Jade Cargill and said after she was caught and angrily yelled at Bianca Belair, "I should have pushed her harder. I should have pushed her sooner." And for 7 years, going back to Seth Rollins and CM Punk, but for CM Punk stating for 7 years while you were running this side of WWE, they were still chanting my name. So 5 really good burns of this year, but which one will take the title? Now moving into our next one, the oh wow moment of the year. This is the moment that essentially made you say, oh wow. Last year it was The Rock bloodying Cody Rhodes outside of the WWE event, going well past the timeline, stating the cameras are not off and continuing the assault on a bloody WWE champion even long after the match or after Raw had ended. Which match truly made us say, oh wow, this year? Let's see our 5 nominees. Cody Rhodes slamming Kevin Owens through a table at the Royal Rumble. The look of Kevin Owens' face as he just sat propped through a broken ladder, laid there for several minutes. Just a moment forever etched in people's minds. You could even see the look of the referee and the fight doctor in the back, just the hands on head and everything else. Owens ended up selling it like a champ, of course, now knowing of Owens and his potential neck issues. It definitely was a moment where you could tell that he wanted, if he was going to go out, he was going to go out swinging. But what a moment that brought amongst the WWE universe. AJ Lee's return recently in the summer on SmackDown. I think a lot of us, myself included, thought this one would maybe never happen. But AJ Lee returning to team up with her husband, CM Punk, to battle against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Definitely a fire moment, to say the least. Cena's heel turn. You knew this was going to make the list. Nobody knew whether it was going to happen, but ultimately, after winning the Elimination Chamber and earning a shot at the WWE Championship, Cody seemingly says, "I will not sell my soul to you, Rock," only to have John Cena do the heel turn everyone's been asking for over 2 decades and leading his way into the darkness as he would begin the first heel turn he had since his first years with the company. Brock Lesnar's return. Brock's return typically always brings fuel and oh wow from the crowd at almost every turn. This one being no different, as Brock Lesnar would return to join up with Paul Heyman's team as they would get ready for War Games. And finally, Paul Heyman's double heel turn at WrestleMania Saturday, turning on his man CM Punk and seemingly re-siding with the Tribal Chief. But before the Chief could get in his revenge chair shot against Seth Rollins, Heyman would turn on the Chief and would ultimately side with the Visionary. Continuing through our different opportunities and events, we have the debut or return of the year. This is either someone from NXT making their official debut on the main roster, or a person previously on the main roster making their return. That last year's winner, the huge moment on Friday Night SmackDown with the Wyatt Six finally making their debut, laying out virtually the entire roster in the process as they would lead their way to bringing the Wyatt era back to Friday Night SmackDown. With that, let's see who can match up with our 5 finalists for this year. Of course, AJ Lee, we just talked about her a couple of minutes ago, her re-debut after 11 years away from the company. Her debut and return back to Friday Night SmackDown definitely sent shockwaves through all of the WWE universe. The Rock, his return earlier this year on the Netflix premiere, as well as his opportunities to be able to try to directly affect the WrestleMania events leading up to it. His return, you do have to go a little ways back in order to remember that return. However, his return was definitely one that was remembered. Blake Monroe, after such success in AEW, her debut in NXT definitely brought shockwaves to the black and gold brand, and her already holding a championship so early in her career, she actually has an opportunity to be able to do something at these awards that no one's done up to this stage, and that is possibly win an award with two different companies in the same year. More on that later. Liv Morgan, her recent return, just narrowly sneaking underneath the timeline with her return at Survivor Series, costing John Cena the Intercontinental Championship and aligning herself back with Dominic Mysterio. Liv Morgan, just by the skin of a couple of hours, does reach into this category. And of course, John Cena, the year of Cena, being a part of all of this, just recently retiring. But let's see if his year as a whole, returning back for one final run, will be enough to take home this award. We then move into one of the larger categories, and that is the NXT Female Superstar of the Year. This, of course, goes to the greatest female superstar, depending definition-wise of however you choose to view it. Some view them on ring results, some view them on overall talent, some view them on promo skills. That's why having this larger panel makes such a large difference, because you have so many different ways and everybody's interpretation of the Superstar Award is subjective to how they want to see it. Also noting that the winner of the Superstar of the Year award also advances to a final percentage vote, to where whichever person receives the highest percentage of votes amongst their respective category will also be the overall Superstar of the Year. So the winner of this award also moves into a final competition against the 5 other winners of the respective Superstar of the Year categories. Last year's winner, Roxanne Perez, obviously having such a great run on the main roster. But let's see who the 5 candidates are for this year. We begin with the current 2-time NXT Women's Champion, Jacy Jayne, pulling the shocker over Stephanie Vaquer in the middle of the summer, and ultimately at one point holding both the NXT and TNA Knockouts World Championship at the same time. Her and Fatal Influence have carried on NXT and have really helped to stabilize that women's division. Lola Vice. She has had multiple shots at trying to win the NXT Championship. She also has been heavily featured in WWE's carryover into AAA. She seems destined to be holding gold in NXT soon and has had a fantastic year as a result. Jada Parker, one of the populars amongst the Mania Club and the Ultraverse. Jada had a fantastic front half of the year, has recently kind of gone off the television for a little while, but will her first half of the year be enough to carry her to the Superstar of the Year award? Kalani Jordan, a slightly outdated render that we were provided, but she at one point did hold the TNA Knockouts World Championship for a couple of months. She has absolutely been on fire and heavily carried as both a face and a heel throughout the year, but is it enough to carry home the NXT Superstar of the Year? And finally, Jordynne Grace, NXT's newest acquisition from TNA, as she is now in her first full year in NXT. And despite not having won gold yet, she seems destined to be the future of the black and gold brand. But is that enough for our voters to put her through as Female Superstar of the Year? By the same token, of course, we also have to award the Male Superstar of the Year. By the same virtue, this goes to the person that we feel that spent the most time, had to spend at least 6 months in NXT throughout our voting time, and most properly demonstrated that of an NXT male superstar. Just like it was with the Female Superstar of the Year, the winner of this award will also have an opportunity to advance to the final overall Superstar of the Year. Last year's winner is the current NXT champion, Oba Femi. Pretty certain he will probably find his way onto this panel for the final vote, but let's go ahead and make it official and see the 5 superstars for NXT Male Superstar of the Year. Ethan Page, the current NXT North American champion, fantastic year. Also did hold the NXT championship for a small amount of time. So definitely in the running for opportunity to be able to go as the male superstar of the year. Trick Williams, NXT champion earlier in the year, also held the TNA World Championship for a little while. He has claimed himself to be the face of two brands. Let's see if it's enough to carry him to NXT Male Superstar of the Year. Javon Evans starting to get more heavily featured, not just in NXT, but not also on TNA and in main roster, most recently appearing at John Cena's final match, Saturday night's main event. Granted, that has no role in the final vote, but Javon has definitely stepped up over the last couple of months and is being heavily featured as the future of NXT. Ricky Saints, the Revolution, making his debut in NXT in the later part of the winter into the early part of spring, winning the NXT North American Championship and eventually the NXT Championship, defeating the seemingly unbeatable Oba Femi, recently dropping the title back to Femi. But he has definitely had a absolutely superstar of the year caliber type of performance. And to the surprise of no one, Oba Femi is the fifth and final person that does make the chart. The current, now two-time NXT champion, went toe-to-toe with Cody Rhodes a couple of days ago. It definitely seems destined to be the future. Will he have an opportunity to be able to repeat as NXT Male Superstar of the Year? We will soon find out. With that, we do move into the second half of our voting, and that begins with our first of 4 AEW categories, starting with the Breakout Superstar of the Year, the person that we felt took the largest leap inside of All Elite Wrestling. Last year's winner was Mariah May, who is now Blake Monroe in NXT. So, as we stated earlier, Blake with an opportunity to potentially be able to win 2 different awards with 2 different companies inside the same calendar year. It's never been done before, and it would be hard to do under these circumstances, but let's see who the 5 nominees are this year. Last year, Anna Jay was on this ballot. She didn't take it, but is back on the ballot this year. She's also joined by upstart Megan Bain, definitely pushing herself above and beyond with her recent success. Harley Cameron, another possible victory for Breakout Superstar of the Year, definitely pushes herself to the next level this calendar year. Mark Briscoe, after some tough times, losing his brother recently, now holding the TBS or the TNT Championship, definitely with a chip on his shoulder, but definitely appears to be on his way. And finally, Kyle Fletcher, he also was on this list last year, unable to take the award, but he returns again as our panel feels that they broke out even further than they did the previous year. So 2 people who previously made this chart, but let's see who takes home the Breakout Star of the Year. That will be up to you. By the same token, we also have the WWE Breakout Superstar of the Year. Same token, it's the person that we felt made the largest leap in talent or in status in the last 12 months. Last year's winner, former world champion Damian Priest. First candidate, no surprise, I believe, is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker has gone from NXT all the way up to now seemingly leader of the division and is staring down the opportunity to win the world championship in January at the first event on Netflix to start the year. Is Braun Breaker destined to start headlining WrestleMania like so many projected? Tatum Paxley. This one I think may have come as a surprise to a handful of us, but Tatum Paxley has made such a leap and has jumped all the way to holding the NXT Women's Championship for a couple of weeks. She has made a humongous jump in talent, and her behind-the-scenes work in promos has been nothing short of spectacular, and congratulations to her for making the list. Dominic Mysterio. It's hard to believe that a person who has previously won this award 2 years ago could be back on there again, but Dominic has made such a large leap with the addition of his time in AAA and the potential push of possibly heading to the world title picture soon. Dominic Mysterio returns to the Breakout Superstar of the Year list after taking a year away. Stephanie Vaquer, I don't think this one would come as a shock to anybody that's been watching. Vaquer has had almost a meteoric rise, going and conquering NXT and then moving into the main roster and already holding the Women's World Championship. It appears nothing has been able to stand in Vaquer's way. Definitely the definition of breakout. And finally, the WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill, otherwise known as that you-know-what. She has definitely, pardon the pun, taken WWE's blue brand by storm and is currently holding an iron fist with her new heel persona, ending the over 300-day reign of Tiffany Stratton and now holding the WWE Women's Championship. Is that enough, though, to make her the breakout star of the year? We then move to our next one, the WWE Tag Team or Faction of the Year. This is simply just the best group of more than one person, whether that be 2, 3, 100, however many it needs to be. Just has to be something that is based on a team or faction of some kind. Last year, it was what we considered the new bloodline, which has now evolved itself into the MFTs, led by Solo Sikoa. Will the MFTs be able to return back to our panel? Let's find out as we announce the 5 finalists. First, returning from last year is DIY. They actually are the only tag team that is actually on this list, surprisingly, but DIY continues to be a very popular favorite amongst the Mania Club and the Ultraverse, and will have an opportunity again to try to go for this award. The Wyatt Six, definitely a front runner with the year of chaos that they have created on the blue brand, also currently holding the WWE Tag Team titles. It definitely will be a tough out for the Wyatt Six to not take this one. Fatal Influence, the ladies brand down in NXT. Jacy Jane, Fallon Henley, and the newest Lainey Reed now joining up with Fatal Influence after the departure of Jasmine Nix. They have been able to really solidify the NXT women's division and have pulled through essentially the entire roster into leading them, as they currently have, 2 pits of gold within Fatal Influence. The Vision, obviously some evolution amongst those particular groups, originally started by Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins removed from the group by Braun Breaker, led now by Breaker, Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman, and now I guess you can include Logan Paul in that group as well. But the Vision has taken on multiple different forms throughout the year. But is that enough to take this award? And finally, it's the Judgment Day in its new form. This is for the most part without Liv Morgan as part of it due to her injury. So you would have to consider both sides of it, including the addition of Roxanne Perez, and remembering that Liv Morgan's return would not have any influence short of past her return on the day of with Survivor Series. So you do have to take pre-Liv Morgan's injury as well as the time she was away if you're voting for Judgment Day. But who takes Tag Team or Faction of the Year? That's up to you. I do want to also apologize. Y'all can hear me coughing back here. I've been under the weather a little bit, so sorry about that for anybody that's got to fight through that, but I'm doing my best. The promo of the year. This one, simply put, is who had the best overall promo? Who was the backstage or televised scene that had you at the edge of your seat? Last year's infamous conversation between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns on the field at Georgia Tech had everybody on the edge of their seats. Roman ending it with "You're in my way in life," as Roman would continue to be bickered at the fact that Cody ultimately cost him the championship he had held for nearly 4 years. And so now Roman will have an opportunity to be able to avenge it later on. That being said, which promos made our list for 2025? Here they come. First one, of course, is the New Day's heel turn. Them, of course, the moment with Big E. We talked about it earlier in the burn of the year, but the New Day essentially saying, hey, we're done with you. We're done with everybody. We can only trust ourselves. The New Day did go on to win the World Tag titles at WrestleMania later that year, and have since continued to be comedic, even though they have been doing so in a heel presence. But their heel turn was definitely one that we would not have seen coming in the matter that it came with, and definitely had all of us on the edge of our seats. Cena's pipe bomb. 11, 12, 13 years, however long it was after the infamous CM Punk pipe bomb, it was a moment to behold, as it would be CM Punk laying through a table uncomfortably while John Cena would hype up on a microphone and would be calling out former people who were not with WWE, essentially remaking the infamous CM Punk pipe bomb moment with one of his own, as he would prepare to defend the championship against CM Punk later on. I control the narrative. Oba Femi's infamous speech after winning the NXT championship, stating that I control the narrative. I'm the captain now. Definitely stating his place as not just the ruler of NXT, but also the clear future of WWE. Naomi's admittance of her being the one that attacked Jade Cargill, the tears, the emotion, the raw feeling from Bianca Belair stating, how could you do this? I'm sorry, we're done. And that immediate change in persona with Naomi going from tears and sadness to now just absolute rage would lead Naomi to take that next step in her career and ultimately win the Women's World Championship at Evolution. But every one of us feeling, was this the moment that we're finally going to find out who attacked Jade? Was the attack by her at Elimination Chamber true? But inevitably, the tears had every one of us gushing as well. And finally, I'll stab you in the front. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes looking at each other one last time, stating, I will stab you in the front. I am going to win the Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to get this title match against you at WrestleMania. Ultimately, of course, Punk would not be able to do so, but at least looked Cody in the eyes in Atlanta and said, you don't have to worry about me stabbing you in the back because I will look you in the eye and stab you in the front. Returning back to All Elite Wrestling, we move on to our second of the 4 awards for AEW for our awards show, and that is the Match of the Year. 5 matches that absolutely had all AEW and really all of wrestling on their seats. Let's see which 5 made the cut to try to follow up the great match between Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland from last year. This is where we mentioned Mariah May, a.k.a. Blake Monroe, having an opportunity to be able to potentially win 2 awards with 2 different companies, as her match at Hollywood Ending Revolution against Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship is our first candidate to make the list. Speaking of Timeless Toni Storm, also her match at All In Texas against then TBS champion, well, I guess still is, Mercedes Moné, handing Mercedes her first loss in AEW, would inevitably be one that everyone would be speaking about regardless of where you're at, and is definitely up for possible overall Match of the Year. Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, we mentioned earlier about Kyle Fletcher possibly being the breakout for the second year, but their steel cage match at Revolution was definitely talked about for months to come. Going back to All In Texas, the Texas Death Match that ended the show for the AEW World Championship between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. The things that these two went through to inflict pain upon each other was unseen by anything recently, and one match that will definitely be remembered. And then finally at Summer Blockbuster, the special event between Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. A love-hate relationship between the two. They teamed up for a little while against the Young Bucks, but inevitably had to have this falling out at Summer Blockbuster to see who was truly the best of the best. Ospreay and Swerve making it onto this list for their match at Summer Blockbuster, and Swerve getting an opportunity to be able to repeat on the Match of the Year award like he did last year against Danielson. Now, when it comes to the WWE side, there has been a small split as we have made the decision amongst the panel to break up the Match of the Year between non-premium live event and premium live event matches. Any non-PLE one would be any match that occurred on either Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, not on a Saturday night's main event or on a premium live event. This because there were so many matches that ended up being that good on Raw and SmackDown that they were deserving of their own category. So without further ado, we had no winner because this will be the first time this one's ever been given out. But here are your nominees. We begin with a match that happened at 2300 in Philadelphia back in December, very early in the voting, between Wes Lee and Javon Evans. This was the match that really put Evans on the map for good. And Wes Lee, despite being on his way out of NXT, inevitably put on a fantastic show. On Monday Night Raw, shortly before her official debut, then NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer would go one-on-one with the Women's World Champion Io Sky in a match that most people are still talking about to this day. Ultimately, interference would end this match, but most people feel that this was absolutely a non-PLE match classic. The steel cage match at the at the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. You knew this was destined to happen, but inevitably it did, and we're still buzzing about it. The World Heavyweight Championship match that took place in June between Gunther and Jey Uso. This would ultimately be the match that Gunther would win the championship back from Jey Uso, but everybody clamored. This match was hyped for well over a month before Gunther would inevitably defeat Jey Uso to win back the World Heavyweight Championship and would end the Yeet movement at that point. And finally, from Friday Night SmackDown, the tag team TLC match from in February between the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, and the then WWE Tag Champs, the Street Profits. Another one of two TLC matches throughout the year. The other one was held at a live event. Maybe it pops up on the PLE match list. We'll find out shortly. But here are 5 fantastic candidates for you to vote on for the non-PLE match of the year. Of course, by that same virtue, we do have to have the PLE match of the year. This is the match that took us all by storm when it came to premium live events, anything that is not Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. Last year's winner, of course, the main event of Night 2, where Roman Reigns would eventually have his 4-year reign as undisputed champion end at the hands of Cody Rhodes and having Rhodes finish his story. These year's 5 candidates begin with the main event of WrestleMania Saturday, once again involving Roman Reigns, but also involving both Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Inevitably, it would be Paul Heyman that would play a large role in that match. John Cena and AJ Styles at Crown Jewel. The number of symmetry, the amount of symmetry and the number of throwbacks between these two were just absolutely phenomenal, but also, no pun intended, but also the idea that AJ Styles and John Cena, this match happened strictly just because of the fact that the WWE Universe demanded it. No other reason, no storyline, no lead up, no nothing. Just the fans wanted it, and Triple H said, okay, we'll give it to you. So there it was, and it was a masterpiece. The opening match of Night 2, WrestleMania Sunday, the Women's World Championship Triple Threat match. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and then Women's World Champion Io Sky absolutely set Sunday night off properly. Io inevitably getting the victory over both Rhea and Bianca, but they definitely put the women's best of the best on the map in terms of PLE matches of the year. The main event of Evolution, the Women's World Championship match between then champion Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. We just talked about them from WrestleMania. They had ultimately multiple matches throughout the year for the championship. This, however, would have the added twist of being a 35-minute classic, inevitably ending with Naomi cashing in Money in the Bank and pinning Io Sky to walk out of Evolution as the Women's World Champion. And the highlight of that coming at the end of what was an absolutely immaculate Evolution event. And finally, from AEW, from AAA and NXT Worlds Collide, the main event between then AAA Mega Champion El Hijo de Vikingo and Chad Gable. Gable ended up putting on a fantastic match, represented WWE well, and it also gave AAA the opportunity to put their best of the best on the map, So this one was one to behold, and those who chose to watch it on YouTube that particular day were absolutely handed to a treat. The workhorse of the year, easily my favorite category. Workhorse of the year is simply put, the guy or gal who is the first one in the gym, the last one out. Everywhere you look, there they are, putting in the work, putting in the effort. This is easily my favorite category of all of the ones we have. And there have been some great winners. Dominic Mysterio has won it. Drew McIntyre has won it. Last year, it was Jey Uso who took that next step. You saw him everywhere. You saw him doing everything. Who is the people who are out here doing it right? Let's meet the 5 candidates for 2025. We begin with Chad Gable. Granted, he took an injury to his shoulder in the middle of the year, but up to that point, he was absolutely doing everything, carrying his new group with his Americans, and inevitably, depending upon who you believe, whether he was El Grande Americano or not, that's up to you to figure out. But basically, for about 4 months, Chad Gable was everywhere. So a fantastic option to choose here. Stephanie Vaquer, I don't think this was a surprise. If you've needed her in NXT, needed her on the main roster, needed her at live events, everywhere you look, there was Vaquer, well earned. Chelsea Green, the 2-time Women's United States champion and also AAA mixed tag champ with Ethan Page, makes this list. Another person who is basically a company woman. What do you need me to do? Where do you need me to be? She's been where the company has needed her to be and has been at the forefront of almost every good storyline. Chelsea Green, absolutely a well-deserved candidate for this year. Jey Uso with an opportunity to be able to repeat as workhorse of the year as his Yeet movement continues to carry him to the next level. Of course, winning the World Heavyweight Championship this year and getting that big singles victory at WrestleMania, really pushing Jey to that next level of stardom. And finally, a former winner in Dominic Mysterio, another person that you see all the time on WWE programming, whether it be Raw, AAA, live events, SmackDown, wherever you need him, he's there. And now holding down the fort of 2 major promotions, a former winner in the Workhorse of the Year, Dominic Mysterio, re-adds himself to the panel for 2025. We had the heel of the year earlier, but of course you can't continue that on without having the babyface of the year, who has been the ultimate good guy, who has been the person that you just cannot wait for their music to hit, and you know you're going to have a great time rooting for these individuals. Just like with Workhorse, Jey Uso, also the babyface of the year last year by our vote. Let's see who makes the panel this year. First, of course, is the WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes, always a popular favorite among Face of the Year. Rhea Ripley. I don't think you really have to say too much more about Ms. Ripley. She absolutely puts smiles on faces, and despite her tough-looking demeanor, is one of the more fun people to watch amongst the WWE superstars. Io Sky, Rhea's recent partner, has been a fantastic face throughout the year, has kept people smiling, and this is really the first major year in which she has taken that next step to that next level. Everyone loves her positive attitude, her infectious smile, and of course her little head pointing wave whenever she does that little front flip. So Io definitely well deserving. John Cena, after of course his little bit of time as a heel, he then returned back at SummerSlam as a face and continued to finish off the rest of his career as a great baby face with the company, and was worthy enough to be placed into our final 5. And finally, with a chance to retain his spot from the previous year, Jey Uso once again makes the list as Babyface of the Year. And now we hit our last handful of categories, which are our main roster superstars of the year. Again, these 4 categories, 2 with AEW and 2 with WWE's main roster, will join the 2 NXT superstar of the years in our overall final vote. Last year's winner was also the overall winner, and that was Timeless Toni Storm as the female superstar and inevitably the overall superstar of the year. Which 5 make the panel for the AEW female superstar of the year for 2025? You begin with Athena, the Ring of Honor Forever Champ. Willow Nightingale making a humongous push towards her newfound status. Megan Bain, we talked about her for Breakout Star of the Year, also reaching the category for Female Superstar of the Year. Toni Storm with an opportunity to be able to retain her Female Superstar of the Year status. And finally, I don't even know what the number's at now, Mercedes 12 belts or however it is now, but Mercedes Moné, despite taking her first 2 losses in AEW, has been winning championship after championship and is in it for Female Superstar of the Year. And my apologies as I actually just started moving through this, as I just realized that little Happy Holidays thing has been down in the corner, so all of the options that have appeared on the far right have been partially blocked. So my apologies. I'll try to make sure I cake that off when we do the award show on December 31st. But now that we've announced the candidates for or nominees for AEW Female Superstar, of course, we have to talk about the WWE Female Superstar. It's interesting to note that each of the 3 years that we have done this previously, the overall winner of the award has been a female. Bianca Belair winning it on the first year, Rhea Ripley winning it previously, winning it 2 years ago, and then Toni Storm was the overall winner last year. So there's actually been 3 female winners, with Rhea Ripley being the Female Superstar of the Year for the 2nd year in a row. So she has an opportunity to potentially three-peat. It'd be hard to believe that Rhea would not make the list here, but let's see who the 5 finalists are. We begin with the Women's United States Champion, Chelsea Green. As we said earlier with the Workhorse Award, she has been everywhere and doing everything. An absolutely fantastic option for this particular category. Stephanie Vaquer, I'm not sure much more needs to be said after the accolades we've spoken about her throughout the show, as she makes the Female Superstar of the Year for the main roster. Io Sky, same as Rhea. Her infectious attitude and run with the women's world title has made her deserving of being on this list. There's Mommy Rhea Ripley joining in as a chance for her to three-peat as WWE Female Superstar of the Year. She has been front and center of the women's division and has been leading things for years now. Can she take this award home for the 3rd year in a row? And finally, Naomi, her great heel turn, being the one to admit to attack Jade Cargill, inevitably using the power of Money in the Bank to get her caution stamp onto the women's world title. And, of course, her big moment of announcing her pregnancy, something that we know she has been waiting a long time for. The push, the carry, the tears, everything all the way up into her departure with the company was fantastic. But is it enough to carry her to Female Superstar of the Year? 2 categories remain, and we hit the Male Superstar of the Year, beginning first with All Elite Wrestling. Last year's winner, Swerve Strickland, absolutely deserving, and it would be hard to imagine that Swerve would not make this list again this year with the great year he's had. But with that, let's announce our 5 finalists. We begin with Hangman Adam Page, his fantastic match against Jon Moxley at All In Texas, and winning the AEW World title has him once again back on this list for the 2nd year in a row. Will Ospreay, spoken about earlier, 2 matches on the Match of the Year candidate list, well deserving. Jon Moxley, the former world champ, we just talked about his classic with Hangman Page, an opportunity for him to take home this award for the first time. A chance for Swerve Strickland to retain his spot as the Male Superstar of the Year. And finally, Kyle Fletcher. As for the 3rd different award, Kyle Fletcher finds his way onto the Superstar of the Year list. Which of these 5 was the best overall? Well, that's for you to decide. And our final category is the Male Superstar of the Year. Last year won by the Yeetmeister Jey Uso. This is for the best overall male superstar for the year of 2025. Our 5 candidates this year in what has been a wonderful year starting the new Netflix era is the current World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. His first full year after coming back from his injury and winning the World Championship over Gunther at SummerSlam has propelled him back to the top of the game and earning his moniker of best in the world. But is he the best in our awards? Seth Rollins. What a year Seth has had, using the power like Naomi of Money in the Bank to cost CM Punk the world title shortly after winning it at SummerSlam. Punk, of course, would go on to re-win the championship back from last year's winner, Jey Uso. But what a year Seth Rollins had, getting the victory in the Saturday main event of WrestleMania and also creating the vision before being sidelined with a major injury. Is Seth's year enough to take home the award? The WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes, he finished the story last year, lost the title to John Cena at WrestleMania, won it back at SummerSlam, and continues to be one of, if not the top person within the company. Is it enough, though, to take home Superstar of the Year for the first time? John Cena, his final year of in-ring competition, his heel run, his run as WWE Champion, inevitably losing, going back face, and putting on classic after classic all the way to the end. John Cena, worthy of one last opportunity to win Superstar of the Year. And Dominic Mysterio, the breakout superstar for the second time in 3 years, makes it to the list this year for the male superstar of the year. Our candidates and our panel feel he has absolutely taken that next step and has earned his way onto this list to go up to see, is he worthy of being the best of the best? And with that, that does bring a conclusion to our On the Ring Aprons Award show. Thank you so much for everybody joining us. Once again, a huge shout out to Mania Club and the Champions of Hope Foundation for giving us this opportunity yet again. As we stated earlier, the voting is going to open tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time via a Google Doc on Mania Club's Facebook page. You will also have a link to it on the On the Ring Apron social medias, primarily our YouTube page. So if you just go into YouTube and type in On the Ring Apron, you'll find us and our logo pretty easily. But definitely make sure your voice is heard. Let your fellow people know from Mania Club and from the Ultraverse. And let's give this the most votes we've ever had as we also push one last time in 2025 to provide donation and other assistance towards our Mania Club endeavors. With that, again, this is Steve from On the Ring Apron. You'll see this come out tomorrow. We look forward to everybody being a part of it. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy Monday Night Raw tonight, and we will see you down the road. Have a great one.